Hi, this is Bill Hader.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bill Hader.
Welcome back to We Are Hater. I am Deej, your sunburnt succubus.
And I'm your boy hunk of the Beltway, Casey Killingsworth.
Today we are on the side of the documentary now of our special documentary now / season 33 coverage. But we have some extras today. Finally, a new trailer dropped for Cat in the Hat. I, for one, am very excited. To be a longer trailer, because the other one was just more of a teaser. The one thing about it is it's being labeled as trailer number 3. And that might lead you to think, hey, where's trailer number 2? One of the big questions has been ever since the first trailer is where's Thing 2? Because we always see first Thing 1 and 3. So they're carrying on a kind of theme for that. I'm going to give this a watch and we'll give you some thoughts during and before and after.
Welcome back to the Institute for the Institution of Imagination and Inspiration, LLC. Sherry from HR. Bring Cat in the Hat to the boss's office right away.
Wow, okay, a meeting with my boss and my HR representative? How fun!
Cat in the Hat. Every one of your assignments is a disaster.
Ah! Nailed it.
We're giving you one last chance, or you lose your stripes.
Without my hat, I'm just a...
You guys, we're here! I'm never gonna fit in here like I did at home. I know this is hard, but this is home now.
Let's see what we can do. It's me! Yeah! I'm the Cat in the Hat!
Fair danger! Call the cops.
No, wait.
Ooh, yikes. Okay, yeah, that is you.
Let's get it started, all right. With clients today, you have to do more to impress them.
Why, hello.
Look at this mess.
Don't worry. With this go-backer, we can make all the mess that we want. And then we just go back and undo it.
Whoa. That means we can go back to before we move.
No, it's dangerous. Oh, no, I'm gonna get fired.
What?
Help me find the go-backer, and I'll help you go back and undo your move.
Deal. Where are we?
It's a world made up entirely of your memories.
My old school!
Mind-blowing. Wow, that was loud. I'm sorry. I forgot I had a bomb in my hat.
Behold some of the most unexplored mysteries of the universe.
We're never gonna get home.
I know change isn't easy, but this is a chance to make new memories.
Follow me!
If we don't find the go-backer, the universe will be destroyed forever.
Ooh, so dramatic.
The Cat in the Hat must be so scared.
I am so scared.
Can we wrap this up?
Hold on, I want to see what happens to Carmela.
I will always be with you, Carmela. Ah, the baby is yours. Wait, I know who to ask if we want to find the go-backer.
What?
Huh?
I think this is their language.
Try telling them to be quiet. That's actually offensive.
Well, I think this helps clear up what exactly was in that box they're opening in the first trailer. I'm loving this all to death. I'm very glad that Appa song has gone out of the thing. That it gives us some more indication of the plot. And yes, there's similar themes that have been explored through things like Inside Out and every other kind of kids moves to a new... All of it depends on how is that world interpreted. Whereas Inside Out had the memory balls and the core memory, where each of the boxes represented each of the person's memories and things that they went for before. Bill Hader, absolutely wonderful performance. Then we heard a little bit more from Winter Brunson, who plays the HR lady. I like the idea of the lore of where the stripes come from. It makes you wonder, what would the Cat in the Hat be just as a regular cat? It's a long way till November, and I really can't wait for I really am looking forward to when that comes out.
Yeah, I like that trailer a lot more than the earlier one that came out that we reviewed on this podcast. It's definitely a lot less pandery and a lot quirkier and more unique and a little bit more of its own thing in terms of modern Pixar DreamWorks animated kids comedies are. So I'm looking forward to it as well. Now that we've talked about that, we're going to move on to the meat of this episode, Documentary Now. First, we're going to talk about a Documentary Now short, possibly the only Documentary Now short that at least has Bill in it. It's called David Letterman Beginnings. This was not a canonical or official episode of Documentary Now that aired on IFC, but rather just a short film that Bill and Fred produced as part of David Letterman's Mark Twain Humor Prize Award ceremony at the Kennedy Center in the fall of 2017, as this was uploaded to YouTube in November 2017. So this would place it in the Documentary Now timeline in between seasons 2 and 3, but we're talking about it in between seasons 1 and 2. The reason we're not waiting a whole year to talk about this is because I came across this on YouTube. I thought this would be the most relevant to discuss right now in June of 2026. It's June 12th of 2026 as we're recording this. Last month, on May 21st, 2026, The Late Show on CBS aired its final episode. As I'm sure you all know, The Late Show is the CBS late night franchise that David Letterman himself started when he left NBC in 1993. He retired from it in May 2015, just a few months before Documentary Now premiered. Stephen Colbert succeeded him as a host and saw this franchise through to the bitter end. We won't get into any political or financial reasons why The Late Show was canceled, but we just thought this would be the best time to talk about it. And I'll say right at the outset that Bill and Fred, their characters in this, they're doing such specific Midwestern Indiana accents that it's like they're both trying to do Letterman impressions. I do think, did they both have old Letterman impressions that they couldn't get on the air at SNL?
I don't think they do. I mean, there's always little bits that anyone can imitate, like his laugh, as we'll see later on in this particular short. Bill doesn't come from the Midwest. His dad came from Chicago, which is in that Midwest area. So we know that Bill is really good with all sorts of accents. In some ways similar to the Chicago accent, but then again, those accents in real life do have some similarities. For instance, he did a live stage piece for the Mark Twain Prize for Bill Murray. Yeah, so for the Mark Twain Prize for Bill Murray, he did a thing live on stage when he was playing a preacher from Chicago. So I just think that regionally, those kind of accents do have some very similar basis with some variations.
The very short Documentary Now opening title. An opening sequence, it's a little bit like The Office, just shots your average middle American downtown Main Street, then just a black title card that reads Broad Ripple Village, Indianapolis, Indiana. Fred and Bill play two old fictional childhood friends of Dave from this town. Fred plays Ralph Masterson, who we see working a small mom and pop type hardware store. And Bill plays Sam Cooper, who we see sweeping up at a local barbershop. Ralph says they're all very proud of Dave because he represents the best of Indiana.
Ben has a very similar comment to the biggest thing that happened in that part of Indiana, but that he never forgot them, which means something around these parts.
And then we just get a few young photos of Dave and an old bearded one of him, and just the title, David Letterman Beginnings. Ralph says he would have been considered the funny one in his and Dave's first grade class, which he says with humility, but again, he and everyone else there is very proud of Dave.
And Sam would describe Dave as...
well, dry. Very dry. Not funny dry either. Just a guy who described things as they were with very little else to it. Yeah, who knew that would be a thing people would like one day?
You can sense that there's a little teeny bit of bitterness behind it.
Ralph reminisces about a time when his and Dave's softball teammate Jeff Anderson came in with his dog to show off because Jeff had just taught his dog to open up a soda can with his paw, to which Sam says,
"That's a stupid pet trick." Dave immediately responds with a stupid pet trick. "That's great. I'm going to steal that one day." And Sam jumps in and says,
"That's not yours to take, Dave." And he said, "Sam, can it?" And I said, "Dave, I need this." And, you know, he ignored me and he just gave his little Dave laugh.
Although personally for SNL, my favorite Letterman was Sudeikis.
My favorite Letterman was Norm. The next scene takes place at a local diner with Sam and Ralph sitting next to each other at a table and looking through their old high school yearbook.
Sam mentions that the whole MAC was very hard on them because they considered a family, especially with Letterman being passed over by Jay Leno. Sam does say he used to be a huge Leno fan until that happened. And after that, he would never watch Jay again, except for the opening monologue, because you have to watch the opening monologue.
And Ralph interjects, "Yeah, but after Leno's opening monologue, I would switch right over to Dave, depending on who Jay and Dave's first guests were." Ralph tells a story of how he confided in Dave that his dad, who used to work at the iron pencil factory, stuffing lead into pencil wood to make heavy-duty industrial pencils, would come home drunk and throw the pencils at him and his 5 siblings. So he would duck, and the pencils would go flying through the window, breaking it.
During this story, the camera goes over to Sam, which shows a very typical kind of reaction shot in a lot of documentaries where he's just kind of listening, just slowly drinking his coffee, just not really letting his friend tell the story.
And Ralph chokes up a bit as he tells the next part of his story, which is,
the pencils would go right through the window, and they'd break the windows, and it was scary. I confided in Dave about it, and he said, "Oh, the pencils break the windows? That's funny." It wasn't funny. But he thought it was a riot, and he wanted to use it in his show.
So reference to a long-running gag on The Late Show in his late night in the 80s. He would throw normal lightweight pencils and blue index cards out the fake window behind his desk, and they'd play a glass-breaking sound effect. And then Sam says this in response.
Yeah, one person's tragedy is another person's gold mine, I guess.
You can see throughout this whole thing, they're trying to be the supportive community people, but there's always the undercurrent of resentment, both of them, which is just almost crushingly palatable, but still underplayed very well. Sam says that Dave's real last name isn't Letterman, but rather his last name is Parka. Dave chose the name because he really liked Letterman jackets. Insert of a middle school photo. And then they also have this other picture that was very badly photoshopped, but I guess they had to get it together kind of quick for this thing. The most glaring one is Bill Hader's head pasted over the middle guy in that.
Ralph says David Letterman may not be the funniest person from Indiana. He challenges anyone to name a funnier person who left Indiana, to which Sam responds with this name.
Mike Pence.
Yeah, I forgot about Mike Pence. And then they both congratulate Dave once again with this phrase.
JFK, Mark Twain, and Dave.
Yeah, 2 legends and Dave.
I do appreciate this because my take on this as someone who's familiar with David Letterman and his history, having watched his show a bit and read about him quite a bit, I have to say this was a loving tribute, and it did capture young Letterman's style of comedy perfectly at the height of his talk show run, which was just slight self-deprecation mixed with the hip for the 80s level irony and not taking yourself or anyone or anything in life too seriously. And you can tell from this that Bill and Fred, and probably Seth and Mulaney, if they had any part in writing or producing this, they were heavily influenced by David Letterman as much as they were by Conan in their own comedy, because they definitely got Dave's style and what David Letterman's comedy was all about and injected perfectly into it here. It's not even all total hero worship. There seem to be a few subtle roast-like jabs in there, subtle nods to Dave's actual reputation in his time for being just as big a jerk off screen as he could be on screen. Because if you've seen him, especially some of his interviews, you know, for being anywhere from playfully rude and downright dismissive and insulting to his guests and people like Paul Schaefer and his producers and staff, and even certain NBC executives when renegotiating his early late night contracts, which apparently is a big part of why he didn't get the Tonight Show offer from them initially.
I've never really been an overly big Letterman fan. I mean, I appreciate what he does. Although I did really like the top 10 lists. That's the one thing I look forward to the most. Anyone who really knows me, that I'm a sucker for any kind of top 10, top 20 lists, as shown by my watch history with Watch Mojo. And this is definitely a style parody, and I'm pretty sure this was set up as a, not only to honor David Letterman, but also to promote the show. This is something I really hope Bill gets someday, because I do think he deserves it. Nice and enjoyable, but it's just the nice about the roast thing, that one line with the two legends and Dave, that basically encapsulates their attitude right there. Okay, so now we're on to Season 2, Episode 1 of Documentary Now. This is The Bunker, which is based on The War Room, which covers the campaign through the primaries, I believe, Governor Bill Clinton. One of the producers of this was D.A. Panabaker, which I believe they've done some of the other documentaries on here before. This episode was written by John Mulaney, and you can definitely tell that it just has a Mulaney kind of tone to it.
I can see certain Mulaneyisms in this for sure. Instead
of doing a presidential campaign, we're taking the 1992 Ohio gubernatorial race, which is between
incumbent Tom Lester and challenger Ben Herndon.
The actor for Ben Herndon, Ben Esperson, you may remember from The Eye Doesn't Lie. He also appears in the Season 3 two-parter Batshit Valley, parodying something that had the actual James Carville. I mean, who else is Bill going to play? They did joke about this at the 92Y panel.
I played Carville in SNL, but Fred wanted to play him. No, I'm joking. That one was pretty simple. I mean, usually it's kind of like, you look at the War Room and go, oh, well, Bill played Carville, and you could do Stephanopoulos.
Bill as a Carville character known as Teddy Redbones. Fred is Alvin Panagoulias, very much like Stephanopoulos. He's the spin doc. He's the one who tries to help with the press and just spin the story. For instance, one of the things they highlight in this one, Ben Herndon, when he went to community college, he failed economics 5 times. And that was what they're using for the analogy, because I did watch The War Room this afternoon. And the biggest thing they were trying to deflect at that time was Bill Clinton's extramarital affairs.
And then this was pre-Monica, so they were cutting their teeth on this, as was the rest of the country, on the idea of a potential president being unfaithful to his wife, because we hadn't really hit the big doozy yet.
So the big one in 1992 was Jennifer Flowers, stating that she had a 12-year affair with the governor. The candidate, Ben Herndon, is a former city councilman. The only reason he's in the race is just to give people the choice. At the time, there's no running against the incumbent. It's hard to tell if he really wanted this or he just wanted to make sure to give people a choice. According to Helen Mirren,
while the intended focus was the candidates, it soon shifted to those behind the scenes. Through Baumgartner's lens, the world was introduced to political operators Teddy Redbones and Alvin Panagoulias in the campaign classic, The Bunker.
Now, the opening scene, which with the fireworks and the bunker, that is a shot-by-shot recreation of the same opening for the War Room. They had the exact same opening with the title of The War Room, the fireworks going off in the background, the establishing shot. So, as usual, they nail the style of the documentary that they're doing, which is fabulous.
I felt those opening titles kind of, like the way they wrote R.C. Baumgartner Films Presents, kind of reminded me of in 1992 on Weekend Update when Robert Smigel would play Hank Fielding and give us the moron's perspective. And the font they used, it looked to me like they were using like funky early 70s Love American style type American flag font.
I do have to admit, Casey, I was really surprised you knew about Love American Style.
I've heard the title and I've seen bits and bobs and parodies of it in my time. It's one of those things I can say I've heard about more than I've seen.
Did you know one segment in Love American Style was essentially a pseudo makes Happy Days a spin-off from Love American Style?
I have heard that, and I heard young Ron Howard was a guest star in that particular episode.
Very much like the original film, and a montage of various campaign posters. The state of Ohio is deep into their election. Some of the headlines are: Governor Lester a lock for re-election. The people of Ohio love Tom Lester. So the incumbent Tom Lester is actually pretty popular and pretty well loved. And of the two, definitely seems the more competent candidate. Former councilman Ben Herndon opposes Lester with little support. Ben Herndon mounts campaign with a quote from Herndon: "I just want to give voters a choice." Herndon's campaign seeks help, which is where Redbones and Panagoulias come in, which also he will mention. It'd be nice to have someone organizing everything, so I think he didn't even think about the concept of campaign managers. Doug Herndon seems to be kind of eager, but also just kind of not necessarily all there. Like, he's very much the hokey dad character, would make you think that he'd be doing dad jokes during debates. Particularly the quote of him saying he wants to give Ohioans a joy. Then we go to the bunker campaign room. The other people in the staff.
Two other main campaign staffers are Mark Weasel and Mary Beth, played by Wayne Fetterman and Talia Tabbitt. Jeff Corbett is the actor who plays Governor Tom Lester.
The star Panagoulias doing a phone call, talking to press, and Lester hangs up. He just loves talking to the press. Teddy Redbones, referred to as the Mississippi Machiavelli. So a couple of their names: Sunburned Succubus and Suspected Arsonist. There is an article out in the local newspaper regarding them taking over the campaign. And then Panagoulias is referred to as the boy hunk of the Beltway. Now, I don't know much about Stephanopoulos, aside from I've seen him on Good Morning America and things like that. So I'm not sure how accurate a lot of these portrayals are of his actual attitude. At least they kind of got the look down. They're also talking at Herndon's home, where they're talking about the various nicknames. And Herndon steps in and notes that he had asked people to take their shoes off, but they did not. I have found out recently it's not widely an American thing to take your shoes off before you go in the house. Casey, is this something you're familiar with?
Yeah, I've heard of this, but it's like at best every other family or every other household does it.
Yeah, in Canada, it's the norm rather than the exception. For me, it makes sense because then you're not tracking dirt in from other places. So cultural things are always going to be very different. But also, Teddy mentions that the one thing they tend to leave out in the press is undefeated. The reason why they're doing this is because of a bet. Redbones said that he could get anybody elected. Doesn't matter who they are or what they're doing. He will do whatever it takes to get them elected to maintain his undefeated reputation. Go to a quick cut of a real estate office with Ben Herndon for governor, and his campaign slogan appears to be Herndon, a choice.
That is a good campaign slogan, though.
This reminds me of the 1990 movie Crazy People, starring Dudley Moore. He plays a burnt-out ad executive who writes brutally honest marketing campaigns, such as buy Volvos. They're boxy, but they're good. Panagoulias walking through the office where he wants to make sure that he has an office of open communication, so every phone call or message for the candidate is streamlined through him. His office is lined with posters of early supermodels, Anna McPherson, Kathy Ireland, Cindy Crawford, because 90s was the big peak supermodel phase in American culture. He seems very obsessed with ranking women, almost to a very disturbing level.
I don't know who put these up, but this one is a 9. And this wall should be all 10s. You know, blondes, brunettes, tasteful, just 10s. It's a little thing, but it just affects everything, so.
And he is mentioning this to a female secretary in the office. Well, not quite the 70s level of misogyny and sexism, pretty darn close. Then Mark is telling all of the staffers to make sure Herndon's name is spelled correctly on the posters. Mark throws it to Teddy, who shoves him out of the way before he can even get Teddy's name out, and says what makes him wake up so angry at 4 a.m.
Governor Lester with his head of hair and his perfect suits and his jogging, well, he thinks he's got this re-election in the bag. Right? What, because our guy ain't James Dean? Well, let me tell you something. We've all been the most unpopular guy in the room. Yeah? We've all been the person at the wedding no one wants to speak to during past appetizers. Yeah? And now we're up against Mr. Popular. Okay? Governor Lester, with his perfect record and his money and his $10 family. Well, let me tell you something. Even the shiniest, most beautiful apple has something mushy and brown underneath. And we got to find whatever weird, mushy brownness we can on Governor Lester, all right? So let's get this going. Come on.
His main strategy is strictly Alvin being interviewed on Politics Now, asked by interviewer Luann Motley, played by Wendy Braun, how to get excited about Herndon. And in particular, he has publicly praised Lester's term as governor. Very similar to a scene in the War Room where Clinton has complimented President Bush. He does think he did a very good job. He's running against him. And then he compares his strategy.
It's kind of like when you meet someone's wife and you say she's a 10, when really she's a true 5. I mean, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that. We all do that.
And that's your political strategy, rating women.
You could see it that way.
You can tell that, yeah, this guy's a piece of crap. He is in the passenger seat of Teddy's car where he's talking on the old brick cell phone about how the interview went to Herndon. He assures him that while the news don't make take some getting used to from him, he and Teddy won't do anything to make him uncomfortable. As they're driving, Redbones spots a Governor Lester campaign sign and immediately stops the car and takes out a lawn jockey and plants it in next to the sign.
A lawn jockey? It's 1992. What kind of people are these Lester supporters?
Herndon is worried about their tactics, and Teddy says he isn't worried about Herndon at all, but rather that they have absolutely no dirt on Lester. Then he places a second lawn jockey in between a Lester sign and 2 girls at a lemonade stand. Once again, the complete, I'm going to go do whatever he can to discredit his people if I can't even find dirt on him. And that is the end of Act 1.
2 begins at a Herndon rally. Ben, his wife, and the rest of his supporters, including one elderly veteran on oxygen, dance to All I Want to Be by Daniel Edwardson and Seamus Sell. A lot of very specific needle drops and song cues in this. My Shazam app got quite a workout. Alvin is once again on his huge brick cell phone, and a sign language interpreter is apparently translating the lyrics to this song while holding a red popsicle in one hand. Teddy frowns and skulks in from backstage wearing the first of many bright and colorful sweaters he wears, like the one on the poster. Mock live public access broadcast of his speech at this gathering. Herndon says he loves the state of Ohio because you can't say it without saying, oh, hi. And yes, this man is literally Ned Flanders come to life. Ben says he wants to say, oh, hi to all voters on Election Day. And we cut and pan around to Teddy silently mouthing along the words of Ben's speech that he wrote. And we see this is mostly taking place inside a sparsely attended high school gymnasium. And he says some voters may want to change from Alana Lester and his cronies in the Toe Authority, to which Teddy says, that's right, go for the jugular, fat man. Ben concludes his speech in a cut back to broadcast footage, then cut to Teddy, and then this newspaper headline plays over the song Rainbow Rider. Herndon is slowly gaining momentum in governor's race. And this quote from Teddy, critics may call our methods unorthodox, but these are the very methods that will win us an office at a desk placard at City Hall next month. Cut back to the main Herndon campaign headquarters, where Alvin walks in and asks if Teddy's wearing his jean jacket, to which Teddy replies it's the room's jacket. And possibly the funniest moment, Act 2, Alvin tells the group that Ben is nervous that their new TV ad's a bit negative, so Mary Beth holds up a VHS cassette and plays that.
This Sunday is Governor Lester's birthday. Let's hope It's his last. On Election Day, vote for Ben Herndon.
Followed by Happy Birthday, Governor being displayed on the screen in bloody, creepy Halloween letters over just audio, screaming chaos and bloody murder.
This is directly based on a scene in the documentary, although person to talk to about the ad is actually on the phone. I do gotta admit, I find the ad very hilarious because you can see what they're trying to do, although they won't admit it, because it can kind of sound like a death threat. They don't see it for some reason.
Alvin's main concern about how this ad plays is time, and he wants to cut this ad down from 18 seconds to 10. And Teddy just wants to add in a choir of spooky children singing Happy Birthday, but it doesn't seem to register in his brain that just adds more time. Mark does bring up the only sane, reasonable concern about this ad, playing like a legitimate death threat to a sitting government official. But Alvin and Teddy are quick to point out that what they're really saying is they hope this is Governor Lester's last birthday in office, because they have a better candidate who they hope will be elected to be in office next year on Lester's birthday. So they hope on his next birthday that he doesn't have to work and he gets his next birthday off. As I recall, from what little I have seen in the War Room, what they're talking on the phone about cutting from the Clinton ad, clip of Bush Sr. saying, "Read my lips, no new taxes." But Alvin thinks the best way to shave 5 seconds off this ad is to cut off vote for Ben Herndon. And Teddy still wants to add spooky children singing Happy Birthday. Mary Beth tells him this adds 15 more seconds, and then Teddy responds with possibly his all-timer quote,
God damn it, Mary Beth. In 1 hour, I gotta go meet with a forger to try to change Governor Lester's high school yearbook quote. You understand? So I gotta be able to leave here knowing that this ad plays without you coming and pinching at the waist about 10 seconds. Okay? I can't work like that.
And then another headline montage, this time set to Space Grace by Laszlo Benker. 84% of voters think Herndon is unqualified to be governor. Herndon campaign, quote, lacking for substance. And then like a USA Today infographic poll, but in black and white, that shows Lester's currently polling at 79% and Herndon at 11%. And then we cut to local news broadcast footage of Teddy being followed around by local reporters asking for a response to a quote from the Cleveland Plain Dealer saying Herndon is wildly unfit to be governor. So Teddy's response is to first point out how terrible the name Cleveland Plain Dealer is for a newspaper. That sounds like the name of a boring blackjack dealer. He then segues that into a claim that Governor Lester has never publicly come out against riverboat gambling between Cincinnati and northern Kentucky, subtly implies Lester may be a gambling addict and says to the press, "You're barking up the wrong jerk tree." End of Act 2.
Maybe because I do love what Bill does with James Carville on the Weekend Update. Still love this character of Teddy Redbones because he's just very dedicated. Definitely a different Carville because, as Bill has said, when I played him on Saturday Night Live, he was raised by eels and stuff. This kind of insane other thing. In the bunker, Carville is a guy who keeps forgetting his candidate's name. It doesn't matter who he's helping win, he just wants them to win. They also claim that the bunker is more of a timepiece rather than a political piece, because at the time, it had been broadcast during a presidential campaign. Purely coincidence. I'm sure people will find some correlation to what's going on now, but we never wanted to make it some big statement on what's going on now. It's more like big general truths about people running a campaign. We say a countdown sign, the campaign HQ, with 10 days to go till the actual election. Alvin's on the phone with a reporter who apparently wants to write a story about Ben having failed basic economics in community college 5 times. He advised him not to write this story because they are going to win. He says you don't want to be the ones betting against someone new, young, and cute. Alvin says you don't want to be the guy who went to high school with Kathy Ireland and ignored her because she was mousy looking. Teddy calls the attention of the entire office because he's getting increasingly frustrated that they have not found any dirt on Governor Lester.
I need some dirt on Governor Lester, all right? And I'm not talking about mudslinging. Something real.
Mark brings up a story about unpaid interns working more than 5 hours a week on his campaign and also on holidays. Teddy tries to spin this into a scandal about Governor Lester using child slave labor on camera. So Alvin is talking with Ben on a headset, trying to convince him to go with this, admits that he is nervous about how they have no dirt unless they're going into the debate. Ben tells Alvin this is a no-go. Alvin tells Teddy, whose response is to slam a paperweight into Alvin's desk with his gloved right hand several times. Alvin explains to Teddy that Ben can't wrap his head around any kind of negativity. Once again, supporting Casey, Ned Flanders personified. Teddy just said they've never had absolutely no dirt on a candidate at this point of the campaign. But apparently, they have found something, to which Teddy very excitedly reacts with a woohoo. Cut to a scene with Ben Herndon in his home. He's in his pajamas. And once again, Ben's telling him to take the shoes off. And Teddy just blatantly says,
once again, this is a shoes off house.
Yeah, not going to happen. Look, we got legit evidence.
They have evidence. Governor Lester fathered an illegitimate child with his college girlfriend, but never admitted to it publicly. He may not technically have abandoned the child, since he does pay child support, but this proves that people of Ohio that Governor Lester is a liar, which is something they have a right to know. Now, Ben does admit this raises some questions. Teddy and Alvin convince him these questions need to be raised at tomorrow night's debate. Ben very reluctantly agrees to go along with this plan and warns Teddy not to wake up his wife as he heads to use Ben's toilet before he leaves. And thus concludes Act 3.
Act 4, the final act, which opens with an establishing shot of the Civic Center where the 1992 Ohio gubernatorial debate is taking place. Alvin is showing off his incredibly hacky impressions of Ben Herndon.
We've been working on a Herndon impression. You guys want to see it? Yeah. I can't tell him. I know. She's always so nervous.
Alvin. I think I'm nervous.
And Michael Jackson. And this is Michael Jackson is what you expect. Teddy and Mark are inside testing out the podium mics with the phrase,
"Put the taffy down, Tubby Tammy,"
which I think IFC used in promos for this season. Ben picks out a tie. Ted crudely gestures for him to mention the illegitimate child story and use it against Governor Lester. And then we just cut to like VHS opening graphics of this debate, where we are introduced to the moderator, Ron Milans, played by Karen Kendrick. And we see Teddy and Alvin running down some stairs. Let's say it's a big night. This moment has stuck with me in the nearly a decade since I first saw this. Teddy and Alvin talk to Ben, who tells them that after preying on this matter, he cannot engage in this kind of attack. Alvin asks, "Do you want to lose this race?" Ben asks, "Well, if I do this, how will I sleep at night?" Teddy actually answers,
You drink and you take pills like everybody else.
This quote stuck with me. Ben tells Alvin and Teddy he believes in forgiveness and that he's not sure what they believe in except themselves. So Ben fires Alvin and Teddy from his campaign and heads out to have an honest debate. And that was the end of my thoughts. So, Deej?
Toward the end, he just has this one brief brilliance of, oh, wait, hang on, these guys aren't really here for me. And he has them nailed to rights completely because they are there just for themselves to win and get him elected. The line of, "You drink, you take pills like everybody else," reminds me of my favorite line from Phantom of the Paradise. If you have not seen it, see that movie. Is, "I know drug real for real."
In the actual debate, as it starts, Lester gets twice the applause that Herndon does. The moderator asks a question about how he would continue growth in the state of Ohio. Herndon says that's a great question. He would like to answer it tomorrow. Right now, he's out of water, to which Governor Lester walks over to his podium and pours him some of his water. Teddy and Alvin talk in that same hallway, talking about how they're going to lose this election, or Alvin says they're going to lose this election. Teddy says maybe not, and takes him into a stairwell and asks him,
Remember what I told you I'd do before I lose an election?
Oh, yes, that was crazy.
Should I do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should do it.
Yeah.
back in the actual debate, Lester jokes that Ben would make a better grandfather and he would make a better governor. Suddenly, gunshots ring out. Everyone screams in horror. Teddy limps and staggers out with a bullet wound in his leg, claiming that someone from Lester's campaign staff shot him. We see more newspaper coverage set to title track by Andy Clark and Mandy Elias, which supports Teddy's narrative. Redbones recounts harrowing ordeal. The shooter was wearing I Support Lester paraphernalia. Voters turn on violent Lester campaign. Then, like a very primitive early 90s computer poll shows that Lester and Herndon are now tied at 49%. Alvin is telling Ben over the phone that all the counties are in except for one they're still waiting on, but they won. And they pan over to a poster of Kathy Ireland and Al McPherson on the wall in his office and cut to staff applauding around a table where Alvin and Teddy are seated. Teddy's now on crutches. Alvin starts speaking about the three things he's most grateful for right now: the way he ran his campaign, his new girlfriend, and Teddy Redbones, who stands up and says,
I'm gonna cry now. It's gonna be a weird cry. This all started with a bet in a restaurant. Is that right? A bet that we could get anyone elected to anything. And we did. This was never about the state of Ohio or Ben Herndon. It's about what we did. We changed the way that election narratives are hijacked. Y'all are political professionals. You should be proud of that. I'm proud of you. You love your work.
He briefly pokes fun at Mary Beth.
We all learned a lot. Like the difference between shooting someone in the ass and shooting them in their femur. Ain't that right, Mary Beth? You should have seen her out there. She went, it was like Wile E. Coyote down there. You dumb knucklehead. Anyway, give yourself, come on.
We end on Herndon's acceptance speech where he mentions Governor Lester, just called to congratulate him. The credits roll. He publicly mentions he has a family cruise planned in October for his aunt's 80th birthday. So he'll be gone for 3 weeks that month, and he hopes that's okay. And that's the end. I'd say this was a strong second season opener to Doc Now, if nothing else, is a hauntingly prescient one for some of today's politics. It is a little eerie to think of something called the bunker that wraps up with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Another thing that strikes me, we just saw 3 Doc Now episodes back to back where Bill plays aggro alpha male type characters who are, both his last 2 Documentary Now characters are singularly obsessed with power. But when you get right down to it, Teddy Redbones is much scarier and more dangerous than Clark Honus. Clark always seemed obsessed with using music to further his wealth and using his wealth and power to prove his own manhood. Teddy is far less obsessed with wealth than he's tangentially obsessed with power and just maintaining his own unassailable, lossless record. Teddy's obsessed with putting one man into one position of power and influence who may be too naive for his own good and may be punching way out of his own weight class, only for the sake of maintaining, again, his own undefeated record and proving he can get anyone elected to anything. And Alvin has similar empty ambitions to Teddy, which is why they work so well together. But Alvin also seems too obsessed with women and his own image as a cute boy hug for his own good. But Alvin and Teddy, they never once stopped to think about the lives and the economies they can be putting in danger. Not even his own life in Teddy's case, just for the sake of their own records, which in real life would be a lot scarier. But it's not real life, but it was at least based on something very much from real life. There were funny moments and there was fun to be had. It's hard to say either of them disappeared into these characters, but I guess this was just, in a way, for Bill, this is a warm-up on his own personal journey to show audiences that he could play violent, dead-eyed sociopaths with absolutely zero qualms about putting their own livelihoods or the livelihoods of others in serious danger.
I'm going to partially disagree with you on your last statement, because I do believe Bill, while he has played Carville before, and this character is based on Carville, it's a more realistic kind of portrayal. I know that Carville isn't quite that cutthroat as Redbones is. I do feel that he was very much into his character. Maybe because of the character that Fred was playing wasn't exactly quite as dynamic as the Redbones character is. John Mulaney's writing is absolutely solid, and the directors always do an excellent job. They completely capture the essence of the documentary, as well as the look and the feel, and as Fred has said before, just making sure even little things in the background are as accurate as they get, like really big soda machines in the background, and just use the big cell phones. I just really enjoyed this one because of Bill and John Mulaney's excellent writing. That does conclude the War Room, but we do have one more little bonus thing that I happen to have found today. They mentioned in an interview Carville did some promotion for this episode. So we're going to play that clip right now.
Winners, a political retrospective with James Carville and Dee Dee Myers.
All right. Come on in, guys. Welcome. Well, let's go upstairs, and I'll show you my office here. This is my dad. He was a college boxer. This is a globe from World War II. You know, when I think of my political career, it really started, inspiration was The Bunker.
The Bunker. This movie changed the way people perceive campaigns and what it's like to work on a campaign, and created the first two political superstars in American history.
Alvin, kind of intellectual, good-looking Greek guy. And then there's this old sapsucker here. Oh, Teddy looks like he might have just fell off the turnip truck somewhere, going to market. But things that they talked about and things that they did had influence, I think, on the whole generation of political consultants in the United States.
Governor Lester, with his perfect record and his money and his $10 family. Well, let me tell you something. Even the shiniest, most beautiful apple has something mushy and brown underneath. And we got to find whatever weird, mushy brownness we can on Governor Lester, all right? So let's get this going. Come on.
You would think that Alvin and Teddy wouldn't work together that well because they were so different, but they complemented each other fantastically.
Fine, Jack. It's the rules, Jack.
Oh, Teddy. I don't know what it was. I mean, I can relate to this guy, and he's kind of a weird guy, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, for first, the Cleveland Plain Dealer is a terrible name for a newspaper. Man, that sounds like a boring blackjack deal. I mean, I like my blackjack dealers to be celebrity impersonators.
Teddy, I don't think the political world had seen anything quite like him. His pants were always too short. The guy never had jeans that went down to his ankles. I don't know where he got them or why, but they were always 3 inches above his ankles. It was weird. It was an amazing moment in history, and this film captures it for the ages. I haven't been able to watch it in 20 years because they don't make VHS machines anymore, but I have every line memorized, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, Teddy, to this day, I was kind of, WW, what would Jesus do? Sometimes I think, what would Teddy do? I don't know. And you try to figure out what he was thinking, if he was thinking anything. It's kind of hard guy to understand even what he's saying.
They always write the same stuff about me, or Mississippi Machiavelli, or some but succubus, or what's the other one? The suspected author. Yeah. But you know what they always leave out? Undefeated.
Documentary Now presents The Bunker, Wednesday, September 14th at 10 on IFC.
It is nice to see that Carville does have a sense of humor about himself, and so apparently he does. He holds no animosity towards Bill for his impression. So, is this the first time you've seen that, as well as me?
Yeah, technically, yes. I did watch it before the recording, but it is the first time I've seen it, and I was actually quite impressed with how well James Carville handled Bill's take on it.
That is The Bunker. So, Casey, what's up for next episode?
We are going back to the SNL season 33 We'll be talking about Jonah Hill with Mariah Carey episode, which has more content with Bill doing a political impression from his time on the show.
Awesome. So thank you very much for joining us. As we have mentioned before, just since we're getting to a summer schedule where we've always been to every other week, but we're going to be alternating episode releases with Saturday Night Ladies. Right now we have our first discussion of SNL UK for the first season. So that's out on all the platforms. I just want to thank you all for being here. And I am Dean Sparrons and will continue to be.
And I will still be Casey Killingsworth until I'm informed otherwise.
And I we heart Hater.
We heart Hater. It's what we do because he's undefeated and nobody has written that about him.
Thank you for listening to We Heart Hater. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We Heart Hater is a presentation of Wacky Notion Productions. Created by Dean Sparrons. Hosted by Dean Sparrons and Casey Killingsworth. Recording and editing by Dean Sparrons. Intro and outro music by Music Unlimited, used under Creative Commons license, courtesy of pixabay.com.